Hi everyone, in this video we are going to look at and do swatches for Kat Von D's two new Fetish palettes. There is a blush and highlighter palette and an eyeshadow palette. Both of these are limited edition and they are now available through Sephora. I'll put a link in the description box below to where you can find these for purchase if you are interested, as well as a link to eBay so that if you do make a purchase online, you can at least get some cash back. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. A link to the blog sale is also in the description box below. If you haven't seen the video for Almay's just released Velvet Foil Cream eyeshadows, I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner for you to see that if you're interested. And let's get looking at what these palettes are all about. So let's start with the blush and highlighter palette. This retails for $43. It includes 3 shades of Metal Crush Extreme Highlighter. 2 of those shades are exclusive to this palette. Those are Telepathy and Magic. The palette also has 3 blushes, and the description says that this palette provides an exclusive preview of the Everlasting Blush formula in 3 shades that complement the highlighters. So the outside of the palette is very interesting. This part is like a soft rubbery kind of plasticky texture. Then it is stitched with threading. You can see there up close. It closes via a magnet. You do get a full-sized mirror inside, and this is what the layout of the palette looks like. We will swatch these. As always, I will do that with a powder brush. The names of each shade are available to you on the palette itself under each pan. So we will first do the highlighters and then we will swatch each of the blushes. So first up with the highlighters, we have the shade Rose Shock. And this is a rose pink with a silver and pink and gold flash. Kat Von D's website says to amplify the finish, you can also apply this wet. So with the same shade, we're applying it with a dampened brush. The next shade is Magic, and this is a peach with gold shimmer. I'm gonna add a second layer to that to build up the finish. Let's compare that to Magic applied with a dampened brush. And third is Telepathy, which is a light pink but with a purple or blue flash. I'm also going to add a second layer to this shade to build up the appearance. And finally, Telepathy applied with a dampened brush. Okay, so there you have the 3 blush shades, each of them with a dry application, then a wet application. The first shade here, I only did 1 layer with the dry application. Then the next 2 shades, the dry application, we applied 2 layers to try to build up the color. And you can definitely tell a difference in the intensity of the finish with these last 2 shades between the wet and dry application. Not as much as with the first highlighting shade. But as you can clearly see from the fallout on the table, these do have larger, chunkier glitter particles, and it kicks up a good amount of the glitter and the dust when you are putting your brush in the pan. Now, this is going to be exaggerated from what's going to happen on your cheeks. I'm picking up more product than I would when I'm applying them on my cheeks in order to show you swatches. Nevertheless, there is definitely sort of a kicking up of the product, as you can see on the palette. Moving on to the blushes, we start with Bathory, which is a fuchsia pink. All right, that's one layer. Here is a second layer applied. Next is Salem, which is a matte peach. All of these blushes have a matte finish. Here is layer 2 of Salem. And Coven, which is a lavender. And second layer of that shade. Okay, so there are your 3 shades applied. These are more sheer than I thought they would be, which can be actually kind of nice to make sure you have control over how you build it up and the ability to blend them out. I'm going to go ahead and layer the corresponding highlighters on top. So we are putting Rose Shock on top of Bathory. Magic on top of Salem. And Telepathy on top of Coven. All right, of course you can build these up if you want to, but I just wanted to give you kind of an introduction to what they might look like paired together. All right, here's the aftermath of swatches. Overall, I have to say I'm not very impressed by this palette. I think it's strange that the highlighters are much bigger than the blushes. In fact, I would think that you would want it to be the reverse, since blush covers a wider space than highlighters usually do. The highlighters are just so glittery. I don't like the chunky, kind of flaky, gritty glitter. I think a more refined formula would have worked much better. Next up is the Fetish eyeshadow palette. This retails for $63. It has a total of 24 shades and is said to contain silky smooth eyeshadows in 4 fetish-inspired finishes. You can use a brush or your fingers, it says, into any one of the eyeshadows, and the finishes are matte, glimmer, metallic, and mega glitter. So the packaging is exactly the same as with the blush palette, except for that it is in a black shade and is larger, but it still has a magnetic closure. It has that latex-like outside and stitching touches. And these are the shades. There is a full-sized mirror inside. In terms of swatching, as always, I will swatch these with an eyeshadow brush over primer, and we're gonna go this way, left to right, and then top to bottom. Here are your shades up close. You do have the names of each of the shades printed underneath each corresponding pan. And the names of the shades are also listed on the back of the palette. We start with Nylon, which is a matte purplish gray. Next is Kink. The description next to this is metallic mauve nude, which obviously is not right. This is a matte bright purple. Blindfold is a metallic mauve bronze. Deviant is a metallic lavender. Whip is a matte black with gold glitter. Suspension is a matte walnut brown. Rope is a bronze with red and gold shimmer. This is according to the site description. Sex is a matte marigold yellow. Latex is a midnight blue with blue glitter. Obsession is a matte navy blue. Chastity is a gold mega glitter, and this is the kind of shade that you probably will want to apply with your fingers, or at the very least a dampened brush, and use a patting motion because it is made of very large, more chunky particles. And Shibari is a metallic olive green. Alright, so here's the first half of the palette, the first 12 shades. You can see the finishes and consistency here up close. I would say the formula is pretty buttery, especially for the matte shades. I was surprised how silky creamy they are. I don't know that that made a huge difference in terms of the finish though. And just at the end here, let's see what Chastity looks like with a finger swatch. It's much easier to apply this with your finger. Right, and that's what that would look like. Corset is a matte cool violet. Cuffs is a platinum mega glitter. Now this one is not as chunky as the other glitter shade and goes on much more smoothly with a brush. Le Petit Mort is a matte sea green. Submissive is a warm white gold mega glitter. This also goes on much more smoothly than that first glitter shade that we saw. Of course, you can still apply them with your fingers. Rubber is a matte black. Fixation is a matte peachy beige. Naughty is a matte gray taupe. S&M is a matte slate gray. Stiletto is a red plum glimmer. Dominatrix is a scarlet glimmer. Bondage is a matte brick red. And Safe Word is a matte dusty pink. Okay, those are the remainder of the shades in this palette. Again, here are your shades up close. Again, I noticed, especially with the matte shades, they're super buttery in terms of texture, and yet they translate to be somewhat patchy still on the skin, especially Dominatrix. That was probably the patchiest of all the matte shades. Again, it's a red shade, so they are much harder to do well. Okay, so there's the eyeshadow palette. You know, I don't really know what to say beyond that. I'm just not that impressed. I feel like we've seen this palette before in different packaging. I just don't get a sense that it's anything really exciting, even though by all descriptions and concept it should be. I think that the most impressive part of these products is the packaging, but what's inside is just underwhelming. I think the layout of the palette, again, like with the blush palette, is a bit strange with the vertical pans instead of horizontal pans, or just some sort of uniform, straightforward layout of the shades. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure that this is worth the price point. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you were interested in buying these palettes and wanted to see what the colors look like, I hope this video was helpful to you. Thank you as always for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you in the next video.